Hi everyone and welcome to the second part of my Canon EF USM 28mm f1.8 lens. I've just got to say I absolutely love this lens. Between this lens and my 85mm, which is very same, it's just a little bit taller, but it's the same build quality, absolutely mint. The weight is fantastic, the lens is fantastic, it focuses all the time. Where other lenses that I've had when I shoot wide open, it's dead easy to get out of focus images. Now I know I had this conversation on Don Bauer's channel the other day and I got a very shabby comments back by Dom, so I just unsubscribed and I won't be going to his channel anymore. But anyway, this lens I tend to be able, it just works, you just click, bang, go. It just locks focus and that's it. It don't hunt around. I've just been photographing a bit of blue tack on some tiles, which you're going to see on the second part in a minute when the pictures come up for the edge sharpness. And when I kept hitting the shutter button, the focus didn't really move on the lens. It just stayed there. Whereas I've noticed on the cheaper lenses and the zoom lenses, you can press it and then you can open your aperture up and you press it again, you shutter even though nothing's moved, and the lens is jumping around all over with focus. This didn't seem to do that. It seemed to just lock on and go, right, I'm locked now, you haven't moved me, so it's alright, I'm in focus. And I really like that. I don't know if it's just a problem with all zoom lenses or what, but this prime lens, since I've been going prime, I think they're far superior to the zoom lenses. Even if people want to slag me off and say that it's my technique, when I tend to use a tripod when I'm doing my testing anyway and nothing moves, so to be in all fairness, I focused here when I focused this lens just on this bit of white text on the EF, so if I don't move anything there's no reason why my technique should be shit, even though Dom reckon that maybe I've just improved over the last couple of days when I bought the zoom lens. But anyway, so yeah, there's a bit of chromatic aberration there around f1.8 and f2.8, which is very noticeable, which I didn't seem to have on the zoom lens, which is, I'm not going to slag it off because Lightroom, it's just one click and it's gone, so it don't bother me. I'd rather have the sharpness and the wide open ability for it to hit its focus when I want it to. Do you know what I mean? I know that I can just do a couple of shots at f2 now on the eyeball and one of them will be sharp, whereas on other lenses I could have it at 2.8 and take 4 and one of them would be acceptable, but then every now and then you might get a tap sharp one. Now I know focusing isn't always the best, and it can miss, but on this thing, that's what I'm saying about it. Focusing ain't an issue for this lens. This lens just likes it, and that's what I want. I'm a low light photographer. I'm even recording this video in low light, and so I need my lenses really if they can whack focus and hit focus every time, or near enough every time. Obviously, bear in mind to anybody else that might be having this problem. You know, when you're shooting at f1.8, 1.4, 1.2, obviously technique can be definitely a factor to your sharp images, which when they were saying that on Dom's channel, I already know that, don't forget. I teach photography on YouTube, I already know that, and I already tell other people that, but nobody asked me if I knew. They just basically thought I were an idiot who were going on and talking out of my arse. And obviously I wasn't. And if you remember the previous video was it the video I did on light, and I shot my son near the window and I used the Canon 28mm lens for that, and I was shooting that at f2, and it's just really is a lovely lens, absolutely fantastic, and I highly recommend it, but it is expensive, but maybe that's why. Maybe the more you pay for your lenses, and because I've never had L lenses, I have used one, I've used L lenses, I've used a couple, and I didn't really see much difference. The only thing I do see is the build quality, and on this lens is focus. Absolutely really good. That's something I can be really excited about. Anyway, we'll get on to the pictures now and we'll have a look at the edge sharpness. We'll look at the centre on the edge. I've done a fair few shots on a tripod. So they've all been tripoded, so they should be nice and sharp. we'll take a look at them and we'll see what the edge sharpness is like. Hi everyone, and welcome to the final part of my 28mm EF f1.8 USM lens. So as you can see, I set my camera up on a tripod as my technique is okay, bum bum, and I focused here on the piece of blue tack. Now somebody asked what the edge sharpness was like, which to be honest I totally and utterly forgot to do. But before I do that, I'm just going to mention the chromatic aberration. And if you look here around this little black band, you can clearly see that there's chromatic aberration. This is shot at f1.8, and it is a problem up to about f2.8, but depending on what you're shooting against, once you get above like f2.5, it's near enough gone. But let's say for argument's sakes that it's a wedding, and on a white wedding dress it'd be very visible. So just before I go any further, I'm just going to show you, I'm just going to enable the lens correction, which you can see there. Then I'm going to choose the colour picker. There you go, it's just gone there now. Sometimes you've got to play a bit of clicking without zooming in, but you can clearly see if I go like this that the defringing has gone. So if I just zoom back and check again, just check that you haven't removed any colour from your image, and you can clearly see that that lens is now correct. So if I hold my shift key and I just click sync the lens correction and go like that, Command D, Control D on a PC, and bang, I've just fixed 12 images. So the person on about chromatic aberration, yes, there is chromatic aberration, but you've just seen in a couple of clicks how I mean that was quite fiddly as well. Usually you can click and get it a lot quicker than that, and you can clearly see that I got rid of the chromatic aberration in the blink. So chromatic aberration shouldn't be a problem. I know what you're probably thinking, that well, hang on a minute, this lens is nearly 400 quid. It is, but the main thing is that the lens corrections are a breeze to fix. It's seconds to fix. You could do 200 images in 10 or 15 seconds, so there's no worries there. So let's get on to the job in hand. This was shot at f1.8, f2, f2.2, f2.5, f2.8, f3.5, f4, f5.6, 8, 11, 16 and 22. So let's just go back to the beginning. And we'll go to the middle first of all, which we've already done, but we'll just quickly touch on it. So if you look, this is a raw file out of the camera with just the lens correction done. If you go, let me just go to number 2. So if we go to number 1 and number 2, you can clearly see that what I said before, when the lens gets to f2, it just sings like a canary. Look at that, from f2. Between f2 and f2.8, I struggle to tell the difference. Watch the chromatic aberration. Did you see the chromatic aberration come in there then? Look, once I get to 2.8, I cannot really tell the difference between f2 and f2.8 in the centre. But let's now go down in the corner, and we'll go and have a look at the edge sharpness. Oops, this is the wrong image. What we'll do here, we'll click in this tile. Let's go somewhere about here. They should all stay there now, right? So if we go down to the edge and we look at the edge on the first one, you can see there's f1.8, definitely soft on the edge. f2, you can see it clearly starts to get a fair bit sharper. If you look over here, bang, you can see it's starting to come in. Still a little bit soft on the edge. f2.2, that's acceptable now. It's starting to come in focus at f2.2. Oops. What's going on here, man, with this? Stay where you are. You see, there ain't much difference to me on the edges, really, between f2 and f2.8. There's a little bit. There's a tiny little bit. I mean, if we compare that to 8 there, and which one's on the left? If we go back to the beginning, so the one on the right is 1.8 and the one on the left is 2.8. So you can see that that's definitely a lot sharper at 2.8. But let's start just creeping up. See, when I'm at 2 there, f2 on the corner, and I'm at f2.8 on the corner, I'm not seeing any difference. So we'll go to an f3.5. Yeah, maybe that's a touch sharper. But there's not. To be honest, it's near enough acceptable on edges from f2 onwards. I mean, it's not as sharp as in the middle, but no lens ever is. But I mean, let's go to an f8 on the corners, which it's actually singing now, this image, right? And let's compare it again, and let's go to an f2 on the right. So the right image is f2 and the left one is f8. And can you see any difference in between those two corners? I know I can't. But obviously if I take it out of 1.8, I can see difference now. So let's go back to the centre. Let's take the C key off, press the Z key. I mean, if you look at the centre, but to be in all fairness, even the centre, if you go to so we'll go to an f2. And then we'll press the C key. So we've got an f2 on the right when it loads. So f2 on the left. Let's start moving up the apertures. Remember when I said to you f2 was brilliant on this lens? I'd say that's a little bit better there. In fact, it is. It's not a great deal though, but it does look like it's got the edge. But apart from that, f5.6 in middle, f2 in middle. I mean, you don't see a lot of lenses do that now. Usually when you're at f2 or something like that and you get to an f4, you really see it starting to zing. So, I'll just take the C key off. So, in all fairness, edge sharpness is great as well, just as I expected it would be from f2 onwards. It's fantastic. It is a little bit better at f5, 6, f8, but you would expect that anyway. And I mean, some of these were shot at really slow shutter speeds. You'll see if you get up to like an f8, look at the slowness of it, it was 2 seconds. But still, the image seems to be just as sharp in the middle from f2 as it does f8 or f11. And the edge sharpness doesn't improve much. Don't forget, these are complete raw files. I mean, if I go to this f2 and we go to the corner here and we just go put a little bit of sharpening on it, because come on, we haven't sharpened anything. Then we go off, off. Look at that, just nicely coming in, and middle should look absolutely zinging. Detail, off, on, off, on, and there you go. Just zoom back out. There's f2, decently class. I mean, we'll go to an f2.8. We'll go an f4, and we'll add the same amount of sharpening on. 55. Press the C key. And we'll go to an f2, because they've both got a bit of sharpening on. So f2's on the right, f4's on the left, on the edge. The f4 actually is a little bit better, but it's here and there. So that concludes my review on the Canon 28mm lens. Dog's nuts lens. Absolutely brilliant for low light photography. Nails focus all the time. It's not to do with me improving over the last couple of days. It nails focus all the time. You could tell the difference. I put the Nifty 50 on the tripod in place of it, and I was messing around, and even that, I had it on the blue tack, and even that was jumping around. Because obviously the cheaper lenses, aren't they? Well, you'd expect that to jump around. But yeah, it absolutely nails focus all the time. It's sharp in the middle, it's sharp on the edges, it feels great to hold, it's got a beauty motor in it, it'll last for years. I highly recommend you get one. Flare, I'll do a flare test next time the sun's out, but I need to order a lens hood for it as well, because it's a bit unfair to test it without a lens hood, but I'm sure that it'll handle flare fantastic as well. And the chromatic aberration, Come on, it's a couple of seconds fix in Lightroom or Photoshop. Thanks for watching. Please comment and subscribe.